Alright, everybody, welcome back to Major Movies and TV. And today we're going to be talking about Prey, the new Predator prequel that came out recently on Hulu. And this is a really good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It's probably top three Predator movies, probably top two, honestly. The only one I don't know if it really beats out is the original, but even then, in some aspects, this one does pretty well. It stars Amber Midthunder as Naru, the main lead of the movie, and she did really good. I liked her. I liked her character. There's not a whole lot of dialogue, so she had to do a lot of like physical acting and stuff, and she did pretty well. The dialogue she did have, she did do well with, so that was a good part of the movie. Yeah, so this is a good movie. I'm gonna go over a non-spoiler review of the movie real quick, and then go into spoilers later. With my first review of Nope, I tried to give a full rundown of the whole movie. With this one, I'm gonna try to do more of a important scenes only type of deal. I'm gonna go over the basic, plot of the movie, but I'm really only gonna go into detail about the more important scenes, just to try to cut it down a little bit. We'll see how it goes. If I don't think it turned out as well as my Nope review, then I'll go back to explaining more of the movie. But we're gonna try it out and see what happens. So pretty much this movie is like a coming of age story for Naru. She wants to be a hunter, but her tribe is a bunch of assholes. Kinda. They don't want her, or they don't believe in her. They don't think she could be a hunter. And honestly, that was probably the worst part of the movie. I get it from like a plot perspective, but in all honesty, the way that the guys in this movie that were a part of her tribe were acting is very Chad like like there was very little reason for them to act that like aggressively towards her just because she wanted to hunt. You would think back then anyone who could hunt would be a hunter, because it's not like you had a lot of options. Like if you can even barely hunt, I would expect that you would be able to hunt, because the more the merrier. I don't think anyone would be against that. And I think that's part of why Naru is such like a special character in this movie, is because she knows both sides. Like, she knows how to hunt and all the medicine and stuff that the women of the tribe have learned. So she kind of gets both, and that's why she's like a really strong character, because she has both sides of that. And I think that's why she ends up, making it out, opposed to yeah, we'll talk about that in spoilers more. So yeah, the guys in this movie kind of dicks, but I get it, it's to move the plot along. When it comes to the Predator in this movie, the CGI looks good, along with the other animals like a bear and a wolf that show up, and a mountain lion. The CGI looks pretty good. Not as good on the animals, but it still looks solid. It's all CGI for the animals except for Naru's dog. And Naru's dog does really well in this movie. Dog is cool. I like dog. So yeah, that's a fun part of the movie. The Predator, again, looks really well done. I think a good portion of what the Predator was doing was practical, like a guy in a suit with CGI on top. I think that's mainly what they did. I'm not 100% sure, but it looked like it looked really good, so I like that. The Predator had a lot of cool weapons and stuff. They go through, and anyone who was concerned about how Naru would face up against a Predator, it actually works out pretty well for her. Story-wise, it actually does kind of make sense for the most part. Granted, I'll get more into it in spoilers, but yeah, I think it explained it pretty well. This isn't like a futuristic Predator that went after Dutch. This is a feral, newer Predator that doesn't have as much of that crazy tech, like the shoulder cannons and stuff. It still does have some crazy tech, though. Like it does decimate a lot of people. Like it kills a lot of people, but it's still somewhat realistic, especially how they go about doing it. So yeah, the brother character, Naru's brother, he's less of a dickhead than all the other guys in the movie, but I mean, he's alright. He's alright. I didn't hate his character, but I didn't love his character. He was just kind of a presence. This movie is very focused on Naru. Most of the movie is very focused on her. So the other characters, they don't get as much of a spotlight. Her brother got most of the spotlight compared to the other characters, but still, it's a Naru-focused movie. Naru and the Predator, pretty much. You actually see more of the Predator than a lot of the other human characters, which is good. I like that a lot. A very contained, small story. I think it did really well. The writing was solid. It was a little weird watching them speak English when the French people were speaking French the whole time, and they did throw in some Comanche even in the English version, but it was a little strange. But then again, I'm not a big fan of subtitles, reading subtitles for a whole movie, so it was a good thing that they did that, but I feel like the Comanche version probably makes more sense. So yeah, whenever that comes out, I'll probably check that version out just to see what it's like. But yeah, so this movie is a very solid movie. It looks really good. The shots that they did, there is tension in the movie. There's not even just with the Predator, but just with the animals and other sequences. There's a lot of tension. Honestly, the most tension was with the animals. I felt like the Predator, you just kind of knew he was gonna slaughter a ton of people. Like, you could just kind of guess. But with the animals, you're like, I wonder what this animal is gonna do, But yeah, so that will conclude my non-spoiler review of the movie. It's a good movie. I suggest watching it, especially if you already have Hulu. If you already have Hulu, and you're a fan of horror or sci-fi or whatever, I'd suggest watching it. It's a good movie. Other than that, if you don't have Hulu, but you are a Predator fan, you do like the Predator movies, I would suggest trying to get a free trial of Hulu just to watch it, because it is definitely one of the better Predator movies that have been made. Definitely top 3 at least. So yeah, that concludes a non-spoiler review. I'm gonna be talking about spoilers now, so if you don't want to be spoiled, don't keep listening, okay? Don't do it. Talking about spoilers now. Alright, so right off the bat, as I mentioned somewhat in my non-spoiler review, a lot of the guy characters in this movie die. They all get killed. Pretty much all of them. Almost. All the hunters that go out and try to fight off against this Predator, they all die. It's even the brother. The scene where the brother dies, it was a pretty solid scene. He got killed pretty brutally, but he also hit the Predator a lot. So he got some good hits in. So yeah, it's a very Naru focused movie because of that. Like they'll just kill off any of the other characters, except Naru pretty much. And even then, there were a couple scenes where I was like, damn, Naru's getting her ass kicked, but surprisingly, she's a really good fighter in this movie. I didn't expect it. Like at first, like I heard like, oh, she's a hunter, but God, she had to do a lot of physical stuff in this movie. A lot of fight scenes where she was like fighting this predator. I don't know how she survived, but, with like a hatchet. But yeah, no, that was she did a lot of fighting in this movie, and it looked really good, and it was pretty cool. Like I said, the Predator has a lot of really cool weapons in this movie. It has like this net that it uses to like a compression net of some kind, where he threw it on one of the French trappers, and this dude just melted. It was pretty cool. He had a shield. He had a combi stick that he could like split in half. He could have he had his claws, obviously invisibility, but he also had like these little like landmines that like floated up in the air and then exploded or something like that. That kill was, or that part was off screen, which kind of sucked. I wish they did more on screen stuff, but considering how this movie probably wasn't given a huge budget, it is still, it's pretty cool, and there are a lot of gory kills in this movie. The Predator is like a ninja. He's a hardcore predator. He fought a bear with his bare hands. He was and he took a lot of shots too, which is how they explain how in the end Naru is able to get the upper hand and kill the Predator. Very much throughout the movie, the Predator is killing a lot of people, but he's also getting hurt a lot. So yeah, that's a part of how he is able to die at the end, how Naru is able to get the upper hand. We'll get more into that later. So pretty much the guys in this movie, like I said, they were making fun of Naru for wanting to be a hunter, thinking she can do it. She tags along anyway. She helps them find this dude who they think has been killed by a lion, which he was. Well, he was attacked by a lion, a mountain lion, and so they go out, they find him. There is one part where Naru, they're all up in a tree and the mountain lion appears and she has to fight off the mountain lion, but she gets knocked out, and then her brother has to go and finish off the mountain lion and then save her, and bring her back to camp or whatever. But he ends up taking the credit from her, and she doesn't get the credit she deserves for wounding the mountain lion pretty bad. So that part was kind of sucky, and it made me like the brother a little less for that. And that never gets really resolved. Like, there was never really a part where they were like, oh no, she actually wounded the mountain lion pretty bad. She should get some credit for that. Nah, there was nothing about that after that happened. So that was kind of disappointing. But she did get her redemption in the end by killing the Predator. So, that part, that the whole guys being assholes to her could have been done better. But that's the worst part of the movie. The rest is really good. Other than that, Naru, she's going out trying to hunt things, and throughout the movie, she's learning stuff. Like, she learns about the bog that she gets trapped in. She learns, like, as she's going against the Predator, she's actually paying attention and learning stuff about it, which helps her get the upper hand in the end. She notices that without his helmet, he can't shoot his arrows correctly. Like, the arrows follow wherever the helmet is pointing. So if his helmet gets knocked off, he can't shoot his arrows properly because the helmet will send them off into a different direction than what he wants. And she sees that and learns that. She pays attention to a lot of things with how the Predator is killing people in front of her, and animals and stuff. And so fast forward, So she's out there. The bear scene happens. The bear scene was pretty good. She sees a bear. She tries to hunt it, but fails. And then the bear goes after her. The dog, goated dog, he distracts the bear. And then she tries to shoot it with an arrow, just pisses it off. The bear chases her into the water. And then before it's about to kill her, the predator comes up and fights the bear, and that was actually a really cool scene. The bear and the predator are like hand-to-hand combat fighting, and it was really cool. I did enjoy that scene. And then when the predator lifts the bear up and is covered in blood, that was a really cool visual. I like the effects on that. Granted, it probably would have been better if it wasn't CGI blood, but still, it didn't look horrible. So yeah, that happens. She escapes, and there was also this other scene where her and another guy were running through a field to get away from the predator, and you see the predator's like footsteps like dropping the grass as it's chasing her, and that was a pretty cool scene. So yeah, there's that scene, and there's the scene where two of the guys from her tribe are trying to fight off the predator, and they get killed pretty brutally. One gets like his legs chopped off and like Cumby sticked into a stump, yeah, or a log, and yeah, a lot of gory effects in this movie and gory kills in this movie. But as she's running through this field, she gets caught by a trap left by French trappers. She gets caught in that, so the predator like looks at her and then leaves her alone because he's not hunting her. She was already hunted technically at that point, by the French trappers. So the predator then turns his focus to the trappers. The trappers, though, they grab Naru, they bring her back to her camp, and they threaten to kill her brother. They're like threatening him with a knife and stuff and cutting him if she doesn't tell them how, like, what that thing was, the predator or something like that. And then what happens is they use Naru and her brother as bait in this really cool forest, like covered in ash, this burnt forest. That was a really cool visual because like it was all like foggy and dusty and stuff and dark compared to the rest of the forest. Most of this movie is in the daylight, which is actually pretty cool. But then that happens, and so Naru and her brother are tied to the tree, and then they lure the predator in, and they try to trap it using like a net, and they try to shoot it, and it does not go well for them. It goes better for them than probably they expected, but the predator still decapitates and slaughters a lot of people, and he goes ham in this movie. He that's where he uses his net and his shield and stuff. He decapitates people with his shield in very brutal ways. Like he knocks them up against a tree, puts a shield in their neck, and then like lets it go and it decapitates them. It's pretty crazy. So Naru figures out how to escape. She takes a bear trap and she puts a rope into the bear trap, and she gets them loose and they get out of there. There is one scene during this part though that was pretty funny where all the trappers had to reload their gun right in front of the predator, and they're all like taking a whole minute to like reload their gun because it's like it's an old gun, so they have to like put the gunpowder in and then put the bullet in or whatever and everything, and the predator's just sitting there watching them. It was pretty funny. That was a good scene. So after that, they get away, but then at the trappers' camp, so at the beginning of the movie, Naru's grandma or whatever, she teaches her about, or she explains these orange flowers, and these orange flowers like thin out the people's blood and makes it so that they don't have like warm. They're not like warm, and that's how she figures out is because she's trying to help one of the trappers that was kind of nice to her, and she gives him these flowers to eat, and when he doesn't appear on the predator's heat vision anymore. Now, he still gets killed because the predator steps on him. Like, he doesn't have his left leg, so he can't get up. And the predator just, like, steps on him, and then he, like, screams, and then he just, stabs him with the claw. But that's how Naru figures out that if she uses the flowers, then she can avoid his heat vision. So what she does is she takes another trapper who's been injured, and he can't walk, and she uses him as bait. And what she does, she eats the flowers herself, and as the predator's walking up to the bait, the trapper, she can't be seen by the predator. So that's an important part of the movie. So Naru's brother ends up getting killed. I think I mentioned that before, but that scene was pretty cool though. It was right before she uses the guy as bait. He tries to save Naru, and he actually rides in on a horse, and he like jumps and like stabs the predator in the back. It was a pretty cool scene. Like, he put up a fight against the predator, but the predator obviously got the upper hand. He could turn invisible. So yeah, that happens. Naru runs away, and then she uses the guy as bait. And then what she does is she knocks the predator's helmet off with a gun to the back of the head, a gunshot to the back of the head, because at this point she knows without that helmet he can't aim his darts at her. So she steals the helmet from him after he gets shot in the head, and sets up this trap for him, and right in front of the bog area. And then the predator eventually finds her. They have like this epic fight at the end. It's a really cool fight. It's probably one of the best fights in the movie. So they're fighting, and what happens is Naru eventually cuts off the predator's arm. She gets a lot of hits in, and she gets thrown back by the predator, and she's able to lure the predator into falling into the bog that she fell in from before. She sets up like a lot of traps in the area. Like she jumps off a tree as the predator goes to jump and kill her, and the predator like cuts up his arm because she set like a bunch of like spikes on it and stuff. It's a pretty cool scene. So she's able to do that, and she's able to get it so that the predator falls in the bog and can't get out. But the predator what she did was she took the helmet and she put it right next to the bog, facing the bog. So when the predator goes to shoot at her with the arrow, he shoots it, but it misses because he doesn't have his helmet on. And it goes past her, and it goes around, and the helmet is looking at his head. So the helmet locks it onto the predator's own head, and then it shoots him in the head and kills him. So yeah, she doesn't overpower the predator. She outsmarts it, pretty much. And then she decapitates it and brings it back to her tribe. And, she brings the head, and she throws it on the ground, and they, like, welcome her as a hunter and everything. So, yeah, that was a pretty cool ending. It is kind of weird, though, that they're not, like, heartbroken over the death of, like, half their tribe. But, it's alright. It's a solid ending. It's good for Naru's character. But it was kind of weird how they weren't, like, sobbing. Half their tribe just got killed. But yeah, so that's pretty much like a brief synopsis of the movie. I tried to keep it quick this time, not too many little details that I went into. There are a lot of cool scenes in this movie. The Predator looks really good. I would say with the Predator's design, I don't know if I like it more than the OG design, the big yellow head, because he doesn't have the big yellow head like before. It's kind of like smaller and it's like browner. Um, it's still a solid design, but it doesn't feel as much like the Predator to me. But I get it. It's like a very old Predator. It's like it hasn't evolved as much as the others. So, well, yeah, it's alright. It's a solid design. I like it, but I don't know if I like it more than the OG Predator design. Other than that, yeah, the shots in this movie, beautiful. CGI is good. Story is solid for the most part. Couple things I might have changed, but overall, it's a good movie. I would suggest watching it. Yeah. So if you're interested in Predator, the Predator franchise, I'd highly suggest checking out Prey. It's a good movie. The actors did well. This is the first movie I've seen Amber Mid-Thunder in, and she does well. So, yeah, I honestly kind of want to watch it again. It was a good movie, so I'd suggest check it out, especially if you have Hulu. So that'll be it for today's episode. If you guys have your own thoughts on the movie, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about the movie, what you liked, what you disliked, and yeah, everyone have a good day.